You guys, what a year. As we are wrapping up 2022, let's discuss a couple of big scary words that are looming out there. They're going to help us understand what's going on towards the end here and what's going to be happening in 2023. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Evans, owner and lead agent of the Living 48 real estate team, and we are going to be discussing marketing trends, what's going on in the marketplace right now, and especially two big scary words that are looming out there in all of, I don't know, the news reports and the news articles and everything out there. So, what are those two scary words? The first scary word we're going to be discussing today is inflation. And the second scary word we're going to be discussing today is recession, and specifically how those two things are playing out in our real estate market here in Arizona. Stay tuned to the end. I've got a great summarization for you today. Okay, so one of the biggest challenges that we have seen in the real estate market this past year in 2022, that was caused by inflation specifically, was a huge spike in our mortgage rates. Never in history have we ever seen rates more than double within a year. Okay, that's never happened before. So, why did that happen? Well, the feds, in an effort to ease the effects of inflation, actually caused that to happen so that they could decrease demand, so that all the things would kind of try and come back down into balance. And so that's what's happened. So because of those mortgage rates, of course, demand has fallen. And we have seen that, our buyers now have more power, they have more options, and we're starting to see some lower prices. Now, when I say lower prices, I don't want anybody to panic. Because we still have such limited supply, that lower pricing, what that really means to you is that we're just not pricing ahead of the market the way that we were anymore. And because the buyers have negotiating power, they're being able to negotiate down below what the list price was. So there's a real interesting narrative that everybody's putting out there around that it's only half true. Okay. So right now, what we continue to see is a shifting market. Well, we are going to continue to see some lower pricing, but we're going to see that limited supply balancing out that decrease in demand. Okay, so we're going to keep things pretty steady over the next little while. Most of the challenges that our buyers and sellers are facing right now is probably just going to be temporary. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, let's move over to that second scary word, recession. What would a recession do to the housing market? All right, so most of the time when we hear the word recession, we think that that's going to mean an inevitable drop in our home prices, because that's exactly what happened in the last recession that was caused actually by the lending and housing industry. Okay, but that isn't necessarily true. Of the last 6 recessions, 2 of them saw depreciation, and only one of them, which is the one that you all remember, has seen a depreciation of more than a 2% drop. Okay, so even if we do see a recession within the next year, home prices are only expected, and again, all the markets are a little bit different, but they're only expected to slightly depreciate, and then they're going to regain their normal levels of annual appreciation by 2024. Okay, so we're going to see maybe a year of flatness is what we're really expecting, is an absolute year of flatness. Okay, so let's say that we do get into a recession. Well, historically, recessions actually bring mortgage rates down. So of the past 6 recessions, again, all of them across the board saw at least a marginal drop in mortgage rates. So undoubtedly, a recession would affect each and every one of us, and that would not necessarily be a great thing. However, in the housing market, what a recession would do for us is really just push us further down the path towards a more balanced and stable housing market. Okay, so with those two things said, the biggest question that we get all the time is, should I buy a home? Is now a good time to buy a house? Should I do this? Should I wait? Are the house's prices going to drop? What should I do? So those are all really, really important questions. So let's talk about this. If you're a current homeowner, you've got some equity built up. We don't expect you to lose a lot of that. Now, homes are not buying and selling as quickly as they have in the past, those kinds of things. So the timing is really, do you need to? Do you want to? Is there a life event happening that would cause you to seriously consider whether or not now is the time to do it? What we can say is this, okay? Yes, the housing prices are very daunting for new buyers. We're seeing higher mortgage rates. We're seeing higher home prices. We're seeing limited supply. All of that is very, very discouraging. However, we've got to look at what's happened in history. And what we have learned from 2008, that was our last big one, is that buying a home is all about time. Time over task, time over investment, time, whatever, however you want to describe it. Buying a home is a long-term investment. So to decide whether or not to buy a home, we have to look at what the market has done over time and what we expect it to do moving forward. Okay, so let's look at the cost of renting right now. The cost of renting, for example, has steadily increased since 2008. Actually, it's been steadily increasing since 1988. So we have quite a bit of data that says renting costs more over the long run, and it's going to continue to do so, especially with the effects of inflation and a recession. So renting is only going to cost you more in the long run rather than to build in value over time by owning something, okay? So the answer to the question is, really now is as good a time as any to buy. In fact, waiting might even cost you more in the long run. We've seen this. So I want to quote an expert, and if you want me to tell you who this is, just let me know and I'll get you all the details on where this came from. But this is the quote that I want to share with you. If you can find a house that meets your financial expectations for a monthly payment, it is a good time for you to buy. Then do that. And if you wait for prices to fall, but they never do, you may discover the hard way that the house that you found a year ago that you really loved, that you could afford, but you passed up on, is more expensive next year, end quote. All right. So that is what we've seen. That's what we've had several of our potential buyers experience over the last 2-3 years. So that is, I believe that to be a real thing out there. All right. Here's my takeaway. Here's my summary. Here's everything. I know that there are a lot of intimidating, possibly confusing topics being discussed out there in the housing market right now. Inflation, recession, all those are real things. And plus we have PTSD from the crash that we experienced back in 2008. All right. Here is what I understand to be true. This current real estate environment is very, very different from what we saw leading up to 2008. Homes have been steadily appreciating rather than depreciating. And although we are not likely to see a dramatic drop, we are expecting to see sort of a leveling out, okay? It's not going to be as dramatic as all of the news reporters are trying to make it seem, in my opinion, and we will be back to normal levels shortly. Shortly meaning like within a year or so. So I don't want you to be discouraged. Although the short-term changes we are seeing in the marketplace may seem very, very scary, the long-term effects are actually bringing us back to a more normalized, balanced market, a healthy market, one that we have needed for several years. If you guys have any questions, if you want to look at your specific home or your specific buying situation, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are here to be a resource for you. You can grab me directly at 480-415-1341, or of course, just message us however you're watching this video. You guys have a great one, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.